and handing it over to our presenter. So we've got Keith McDonald here today, who's going to be speaking to us on the theme of It's Good to Be Good. I don't know if that would be considered a pun or an acronym pun, but that is Go Open Data, as I understand it. And without further ado, if you're all right with that, Keith, I'll pass it over to you.
Indeed. Hello. And we've been riffing on this since Go Open Data Good, right? Usually when we start our Zoom meetings, it's how you doing, and everybody inevitably says, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good." So appropriate acronym for us, I think. Indeed. And I'm using a product called tonight. So rather than sharing screen, I'm able to control things right in front of me at my console. And if you want to see the full, especially when I go full screen with some slides, you will want to choose speaker view. And you should see them virtually as good as if I did share my screen. And really appropriate hearing about Volunteer Week, because I'll be talking about volunteering for us a bit later. So hopefully we can convince some of you folks to join us as well. I tweeted last week about Civic Tech. You get a chance to speak at Civic Tech 2 times in your career, once on the way up and once on the way down. It's good to be back. I say that in jest. I've also participated in Civic Tech as a non-speaker as well. And I think the first time was, and don't tell me I've lost my slide already. Oh dear. I think it just crashed and burnt there. Let's see. Yeah, isn't that interesting? We're not seeing my slide. Well, it was August of 2016 that I was at Civic Tech first. And since that time, I ended up starting a group called Literacy AI and do Keith Chats, which is basically I curate, unpack, ponder, and workshop things with artificial intelligence, including open data and the like, privacy, that kind of stuff, and AI. And I've been working with the library the last couple of years, but COVID has really put a damper into that as far as live presentations go. And I'm here tonight. Let's see if we're going to get this. I'm afraid I can't believe that. Isn't that interesting? The first time it's crashed and burnt. So that means all my slides are pooched. Let's see if, okay, that's one's coming up. So it looks like just some of them are. So, okay, we'll be flexible. We'll see what we can do with this. I'm not here actually as the Literacy AI banner. That's what I do on my day job, so to speak. I'm here as Director of Communications for Go Open Data. And I'm a volunteer for that group. And of course, our theme is It's Good to Be Good, which I'll tell you why, I think, as we go through tonight. It's a real interesting organization, to be sure. And I've got a timeline that I'll show you. It may or may not work. What I want to really cover for us this evening is our history, some of our goals, the events that we're doing, and what our needs are in the Go Open Data arena. So let's come back to history. And this is where the timeline slide should come in, and of course it's not. So I'll go from memory, if you like. We started in 2013 as a conference, and it was actually began by a guy named Albert in Kitchener, and it was at the University of Waterloo, and it was meant to be a one-off event. But Yuri Konga, who is our executive director, thought it was really a super event, and let's continue. So Albert said, "Okay, Yuri, take over." And he did. And in 2014, the conference moved to Toronto, and it became a 2-day event. And subsequent to that, in 2014, there's been Go Open Data conferences in St. Catharines, Newmarket, London, and Barrie, and back to Toronto. The last one that was live was at the Toronto Public Library, as a matter of fact. And we intended to have a 3-day conference last year. And it would have also been in Toronto. The Ministry of Ontario was providing us some space. But of course, COVID really put a damper on that, as well as most people's activities. And we didn't have enough time to get together a virtual event. But in the meantime, we had actually incorporated in 2019. There was a lot of request and thought from the community that why don't you guys set up a regional network, in a sense. So Yuri decided let's go for it. And that's about the time that I joined as a volunteer. I had participated in some good events before that. So we're a small group at the moment. There's about 7 of us working behind the scenes. Given that the conference wasn't a go last year, though, as we moved into 2020, it gave us a lot of time to ponder what else we might do other than conferences. And it was really a good year for us in that sense, because we really took a look at some of the other things that we wanted to do. So we come to 2021 in January, we launched Good version 2.0 and rebooted our website And we started some webinars in something called the Good Cafe. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. And of course, we're gearing up for our conference coming up in May 6th, 7th, and 8th, which brings us to our goals. What do we want to try to do here at Good? And we're really trying to keep it simple from a mission standpoint. You know, it's support open government and support open data. And we believe it all comes down to community well-being, the advantages of civic engagement and transparency and access to the information that government in particular is dealing with will really help us all out and make a much better community for everyone. So we're into the community well-being for sure. We also feel that includes things like knowledge sharing, open dialogue, of course, and collaboration and advocacy. And I'm here tonight to really reach out to you in that sense too, because I think we can collaborate, certainly from a celebration standpoint of talking about the kind of things you're doing at Civic Tech, and broadcasting those to people in our network, and just celebrating in general the things that can be done with data if you're into that side of things. And there may be some things that we can co-share with advocacy as well. So those are two important things I wanted to flesh out. As far as events go, I mentioned we started our webinars, and let's just see if the video will go. Nope. So we're actually alternating two events, webinars and the Good Cafe. Webinars are a more formal presentation. We have a guest speaker, and it's a fairly formal presentation with a slide deck and so on, some question and answers. And that's once every second month. So we have a webinar, and the next month we follow that up with a cafe, back to a webinar, back to a cafe. And the concept of a Good Cafe I quite like, because it's the opposite of a webinar. It's much more formal setting, no presentations per se. It's really as if we were on a coffee break, talking to a couple of people about what it is they're doing and what maybe they're excited about or what they're concerned about. So our most recent one involved Denise Carr, Jackie Liu, and Derek Alton, which some of you may know. And we started out with talking about where's open data at, basically. And we've got one coming up where we're talking about non-government agencies. We've got a person from Spain who's coming in from the Red Cross there, and a local public health person. And we're also working on inclusion one coming up in the fall. So that's the cafe side. And our webinars, we take a lot of time to sort those out too. So I can't announce what the next one is going to be, but we're also trying not to duplicate what other people are doing with their webinars. Open Data is a relatively small community, and there is the Canadian Open Data Society that is similar to us, incorporated and puts some things in play too. So we're connecting with them on a regular basis. You can look at us as the regional Open Data group, and they're a national group, and we are talking back and forth. So that's a good thing to see, certainly. So right now it's really webinars and the cafe, but we're looking at doing things like a mentorship concept, good mentors, because several of us on the group right now have had some experience with open data, starting it and being involved in some of the issues, privacy, um, even the licensing and things that have really been nailed down since it began in around 2008, 2009. So this would be free. We're much like, again, a coffee conversation that we would talk to people about some of the things that we experienced, or let them discuss some of the issues they may be facing. So that's something that we're going to begin, and that's available through our website. People can hook up and connect with us. And we're also supporting the PSOD, or PSOD. What is PSOD, you might ask? It's the Public Sector Open Data Group. And I know Paul is on the call tonight. Paul was one of the chairs, and Good has decided, or actually volunteered to help be a bit of a secretariat for them, to help organize agendas and things like that. So that's something that we're moving into to support. That involves all the municipalities around Ontario, as well as the province, and get-togethers and networking, which is a really valuable thing. And also we're looking at a newsletter and a blog, of course, and even podcasts. And that's where we get to the need for volunteers to help us out and support what we're doing in order to get that done. It's too bad. I was going to point to our conference slide next, which is again May 6th, 7th, and 8th, which is it's our cornerstone event that we try and do every year. Let's see, what else have we got? Okay, so that brings us to our needs, right? Talking about doing all these events and our wishes and so on. That's where volunteering comes into play, and we'd like to see some volunteers join us, I guess. And I have a great slide that it's too bad you can't see. Just going to try something, going to another deck and see if that's going to show up. possibly. Yay. Okay. So this is a former deck. It's not as current as the last one. This is the slide I was talking about. I'm only using it for you guys. I'm not sure how many of you in attendance, and I actually know Yuri, but he truly is the visionary behind the Go Open Data organization. And I put this together to riff on the idea of, Uncle Sam wants you. So I like it, but we're not going to use it en masse simply because of its relationship, I suppose, with America, and we don't necessarily want to reflect America. But nonetheless, we're looking for volunteers, and this should work now. This is a promo. The following is a public service announcement brought to you by the Go Open Data Association. Do you believe in open data principles? Are you involved in open data work? You have a chance to do some good. Join us at the Go Open Data Association now. Become a member, volunteer, or donate. We need your help, and you can do some good. Go to go-opendata.ca now. And it actually froze on me. It should, I'm getting the rainbow ball, the Mac rainbow ball. It should release itself, I hope, momentarily. So yeah, you could be a superhero if you want and join us. This is some of the activities or things that we're involved with. There's a group that's sharing, if you like, each of these areas, and I'm doing the communications side. So I'm obviously looking for some people who want to support us through doing things like videos and tweeting and a number of other things. We're looking at getting into Reddit, and we haven't started a Slack channel, but we need people to help support all of those things on the communications side. But we also have an education group. Jonathan Brown, who I know has attended Civic Tech a lot, is the director of education for us. And we're looking at all kinds of things there involving secondary schools and a number of different things that we may be able to help support. And of course, events, we're hoping to do pop-ups beyond just a conference every year, so that these may be locally related, where we might see if we can do something in a specific city. We're also looking at a technology group, an admin group to just generally admin the whole association, various other projects that we're thinking about, and membership support. And one of the newest things we've come up with is a diversity and inclusion group. We want to make sure we're not only doing well inside good as an association, but also the open data folks that we're involved with, especially in government, are also living up to expectations on inclusion and diversity. So that's a very interesting group, to be sure. So we need to fill those groups though with people. So if you're interested in that, I will go into a breakout room tonight if you have one for me, and please talk to me about what your interests are, and hopefully you come join us as a volunteer. One of the things I like to say to potential volunteers, and I think it's appropriate to Volunteer Week as well, is if you've got a day job and you're doing things on the day job that may not actually exercise your full skill sets, for one reason or another. And you might like to actually do some other stuff, but you don't get the chance in the day job. So if you can bring those skills into, let's say, an association like ours, you'd be able to do that and create some portfolio pieces for yourself or for resumes or however you want to look at it in a sense of advancing your career goals. That's where I found volunteering to be extremely helpful. Now, our website to get a lot of this information, of course, is goopendata.ca. And you can see what we've got going up there. I've got the website, since this seems to be working. So this is our general website. We've got the various tabs, of course, about us, mentoring, all of the things that I've been talking about. So I invite you to go to the site. I do want to mention the conference in particular, and that's our countdown right now. So 16 days away. And there's a lot of interesting things going on in the conference. It's a 3-day event, and the first day, the Thursday, is filled with workshops. So we've got some names I'm sure known to you coming up to present various things, including the analytics and visualization side, the ecosystem. A lot of interesting stuff going on there on the Thursday. Friday is the big conference day per se. And a number of different things going on through that day, everything from ethics and AI to action panels on, let's say, community well-being, a youth panel, which we feel is really, really important to keep the youth engaged in moving on upward the food chain as they get into their working life, some lightning talks, and of course, the final day is the Saturday, and that's the hackathon. And a lot of challenges are being formulated right now. We haven't got a lot of information on the website just yet about it, but there's going to be at least 4, if not more, challenges and some really great speakers. So I can't really announce who they are just yet, but it's going to be an exciting day. So if you're interested in those hackathon type events, it'll be a really good one to get involved with. We're also on Twitter, and there's our account right here. Again, I'm on a rainbow ball. Wow, that's really disappointing to me. Just as a complete aside, if anybody wants to talk after about Macs, I'm planning on getting a new Mac for more RAM and so on, but I've had a number of issues with Macs that I'd like to talk to people about, including this one. So while we're waiting for that to clear, the Twitter account is available. There we go. We do tweet fairly regularly. We've found a lot of pickup, which is really terrific for us. And we really thank Civic Tech for following us as well and helping us cross promote. And we'll do the same with you, of course. And our LinkedIn account, we started a company account there. And this is our LinkedIn thing right here. And we've also started an event. I don't know how many of you have done that, even for some Civic Tech events, but they've got an event capacity that you can create. And I found that really interesting to use, just as an aside, because you can invite your contacts directly. And I've done that, and a number of people have responded to that invite. So that seemed like a really interesting way to get people informed about the event. And GoodTube is the next thing I wanted to mention. We're in a YouTube account, which we're calling GoodTube. And once again, the rainbow ball. You'll see that in a second. And I can't do any movement on the slides either. So let me, yeah, there we go. It's clearing and it's rainbow balling all the time. Okay, so last thing I wanted to say in this sequence was the idea of how do you get in touch with us? And it's at connect@go-opendata.ca. And I will put that in the chat at some point when I get a chance here. So connect@go-opendata.ca. And right on time, up comes the segue to be a member. Membership is also important. And like a lot of groups, and I'm sure you're experiencing the same things, we're dependent on some means of funding since it's a nonprofit. So our membership has been really the only thing that we've got, and also the conference, which we charge for. So it's relatively cheap. We're looking at a single member being $25. Our corporate membership is $5 for $100. And we have a student membership as well, which is only $10. So that helps support things like the Zoom accounts, which I'm sure Civic Tech is also having to deal with, and website presence and various things that cost. We're using a product called FeedLoop for the conference coming up, and it's fairly costly. It's still one of the cheaper ones to purchase for this type of event in the marketplace, however. But those are the kind of things that our memberships help support. So I encourage you to consider being a member. By the way, you don't have to be a member to be a volunteer, so you can still volunteer without having to be a membership. We're trying to also provide some added value to members. So the webinars are free to members. And if you're not a member, you can still see them, but you do have to provide a donation. So really a couple of times watching our webinars, you might as well have joined, is what it comes down to. So that being said, I'm basically ready for some Q&A at this point. Apologize for the slide deck jamming up. It's not the best testimonial to But how do we do that now? Do we open that up for hands?
Hey, yeah, sure. I'll take over for that piece. I think I'm gonna I'll stop recording at this point.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Round of applause, everyone. You can use like the little reactions, or turn your camera and start clapping, or just yet a little holler. But yeah, thank you so much.